Welcome to the Benji? To the Benji channel. My name is Benji, and today we have yet another chapter for One Piece. Now, I will say this again, this chapter isn't necessarily as exciting as the other chapters that we have gotten, but nonetheless, it is something to discuss. And if I'm being honest, this chapter seems to be setting up a whole lot of stuff to be coming up in the next couple of chapters. Just you watch. But before I go ahead and begin, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the Benji channel. I make weekly One Piece chapters as well as One Piece discussion videos. And very soon I will be making other anime and manga discussion videos as well. Just give me some more time. I feel like I always say that. Anyways, and if you haven't already, go ahead and join the Geek Giant podcast channel as well as the Geek Giant Discord. I discuss with a lot of the One Piece fans there, so if you want to go ahead and connect with your boy, go ahead and join us on the Discord. But not gonna waste any more of your precious time, let's go ahead and begin with chapter 1075 of One Piece, Lab Stratum Death Game. So we start off the chapter with another cover page, and this one is a little bit different than the other cover pages that we've gotten. Check this out. Because it looks like in this cover page, VEGAPUNK is within the presence of none other than the Gorosei. And we see the silhouettes of the Gorosei members behind VEGAPUNK, including Saturn. Now, what makes this very interesting is the fact that this seems to be the very meeting that J. Garcia Saturn actually mentioned when he was talking to Gazoru, saying that he had only met VEGAPUNK a couple of times, or I think he said he met him one time before this. Now, this also leads to a possibility a little bit later on in the chapter, but I'll wait for that. Let's continue. Anyways, we continue the actual chapter with the area which we last saw VEGAPUNK Pythagoras seemingly get clapped after he was in search of Old Man VEGAPUNK. And then we see VEGAPUNK Shaka actually paging Pythagoras in an effort to see if he's responsive or not. But as Shaka is checking the monitors to see exactly what happened to Pythagoras, something is happening. He sees a mysterious silhouette in the monitoring screen, and right before Shaka can figure out who this mysterious figure is, the silhouette destroys the transponder snails responsible for surveillance. And this is where a couple of theories kind of come into play, but like I said before, let's continue on with the chapter. So we move on to Luffy, who is accompanied by Zoro, and Luffy is confused of why his communication has been cut off from VEGAPUNK Shaka. We briefly move on to the first search party of Old Man VEGAPUNK, and it's comprised of none other than Nami, Brook, and VEGAPUNK Edison. Nami just happens to stumble upon some luxury items. And also VEGAPUNK Edison makes Nami aware that Old Man VEGAPUNK has developed technology in order to create diamonds, which, to no surprise, Nami absolutely loves. We then move on to our second search party for Old Man VEGAPUNK, comprised of Chopper, Robin, as well as VEGAPUNK Atlas. And Atlas is alive, thank God. We actually found that out in the last chapter. And Robin is just fine as hell, son. Stop playing with me. But also, we also found out from VEGAPUNK Atlas that Old Man VEGAPUNK has also developed technology in order to actually grow human organs. And to be honest, from the looks of it, it looks like Oda is trying to flex how smart VEGAPUNK actually is. We move back to Luffy, and he catches up with Shaka to figure out what is going on. And Shaka lets Luffy know that one by one monitoring surveillance systems within the lab are being destroyed, and that somebody else is in the lab. Interesting, I will say, but a little bit more until I give my opinion. Let's continue. We then see a powerhouse of a group, my boy Sanji, as well as Stussy and my boy Jinbei. Probably the second strongest group after Luffy and Zoro. Maybe the first strongest group, but you know, I digress. And we see Sanji gawking over Stussy. And I'm gonna be real. If I were Sanji, I'll be doing the same thing. Like, look. But after this, we actually get our fourth and our last search group for Old Man VEGAPUNK. And it's comprised of Luffy, Lilith, Frankie, and none other than VEGAPUNK York. And they conveniently seem to be in the same area where Pythagoras had seemingly been blown up. And we finally see that Pythagoras is on the ground and he looks in pretty bad shape, but fortunately he's still alive. But Usopp notices somebody in the distance, and it's none other a smaller version of Pythagoras who detracted his head from his original body in order to protect himself. But Pythagoras actually makes us aware of something that I feel like is going to be extremely important in these next couple chapters. And he says this: "It was the darnest thing. It'll sound impossible, but I know my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. I'm forced to wonder if we've made a grave miscalculation." Now, there's a whole array of things that could actually play out with what Pythagoras actually said, but I want you guys to really focus on the grave miscalculation that seems to be hinted at by Pythagoras. I do feel like out of all the things that was basically considered when they wanted to leave Egghead, they probably forgot one thing that's incorporated within the lab. Now, it could be Vegapunk, it could be a lot of things, but let's continue real quick and then I'll give my opinion. Right as he says this, York is seemingly patting a snake or seraphim boa on her head. And while this is nice and all, a snake or seraphim boa has other plans and immediately turns Vegapunk York into stone. This shocks the entirety of the group because it had seemed like the Vegapunks had actually gotten the seraphim under their command. Seraphim boa wastes absolutely no time and blasts Usopp's group, yet they do barely escape. Lilith tries to contact Shaka, but communication is down, and she reiterates that they have very little chance of being able to fight the Seraphim, especially since they are considered the strongest humans by Vegapunk. Now this is where I can discuss, or at least give my opinion. Now if you do remember, there's actually a hierarchy when it comes to commanding the Seraphim, and there's only one level that is above the Vegapunks, and that's none other than the Gorosei. And we recently got word that Gorosei member Saturn is actually headed to Egghead with none other than Kizaru. So this lends the question, is this mysterious silhouette actually Gorosei Saturn? And is he already in Egghead? And my answer would be, I don't think so, and here's why. And the reason I say this is because last chapter we were actually given a hint of what we may be dealing with in this chapter. And it's these automyopia words, clink and clank, which seem to indicate that this traitor or enemy is a machine or a robot. Now, I could be wrong, but I do want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. Now, in my honest opinion, I think it possibly could be Pythagoras. Maybe he's kind of playing like the victim in this situation, and he gave the command to the Seraphim to go ahead and basically, I don't know, destroy the original Vegapunk, or at least not let them escape. But from the looks of it, I don't necessarily think that this is Gorosei Saturn, and I feel like his interest would be a little bit more grandiose than this, but that's just my opinion. But we move on to the end of the chapter, and as Shaka and Luffy actually catch up with Zoro. And unfortunately, he has his hands pretty full with none other than Seraphim Hawk and Seraphim Kuma. Shaka actually attempts to give the order to the Seraphim to stop and cease attack, but it goes to no avail. And we even get to see that Zoro is attempting to kind of protect Kaku and Lucci, who are being held captive in this room. And this is nice to see from our guy Zoro, some emotion, compassion, in his own way, of course. But out of nowhere, the Seraphim decide to attack with a major blast. They manage to get away, and Shaka says that they must be acting in order from one of the Vegapunks. So it could potentially be a traitor. But we truly end the chapter with Kaku and Lucci, and they propose something very unexpected. They propose that if they are released, they'll form a temporary alliance with none other than Luffy and Zoro, in an attempt to subdue the Seraphim, which results in some of the most beautiful WTF faces from Luffy and Zoro. And that's the end of the chapter, and I'm very excited to see what happens next week, especially since there's no break next week. I do hope that we do get to see Old Man Vegapunk, but I'm very interested to see who this traitor is actually. Like I said before, my guess would have to be Pythagoras. He was the closest to the Seraphim when we first got to see some of the attacks. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this One Piece chapter review. I do this every week whenever there is a One Piece chapter. There will be more content on the channel, so thank you so much for the love and the support. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.